Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do a test here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Alright, so. Yeah, something's going wrong here. I wanted you to know it here. Alright, hang on. Ah, here we are. Okay, so. Alright, yes. I'm back, I hope. Let's see how well the stream health is. Yeah, alright, so yeah, stream health seems to be doing pretty well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. Alright, so. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can invite some peeps to the stream. Because yeah, I want to go ahead and get this show on the road. Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, I've got a background behind me. Yeah, I've got a green screen. Yeah, I was able to use some money from my paycheck and the stimulus funds to get a green screen, and coming, I hope, by the end of the month, maybe sooner, I'm hoping some YouTube lighting, because, yeah, I'm sick and tired of looking like a rank amateur whenever I do stuff. I'm working on my shitty laptop with a really shitty Wi-Fi, so we'll see how the stream holds up. Yeah, so don't mind me looking like I'm doing shit. Just I'm gonna try and log out and get some people in on my stream, because I'm on Twitter and I gotta log on to my main account. Yep, yeah, I'm dropping a lot, so. Yeah, stream health is really shitty. Of course. I'm trying to. Come on. Alright, well. Yeah, I'm going to try and close out everything Firefox, yeah, because that just eats up so much memory on my computer. Yeah, I'm on my crappy laptop right now because my main desktop actually died on me about a month ago. So I was house sitting for a week, and when I got back into town, my computer wanted to install some AVG updates, and it screwed up the Windows boot menu, so that the computer won't even boot, and I'm well and truly fucked on that. So fortunately, I was able to get a hold of an extra copy of Windows 7 Ultimate, which is my default operating system. I can't afford to downgrade to Windows 10 right now, and even if I could, I still would be rather reluctant to do that, especially on a computer that's already dying as it is. But hopefully I'll get that back up and running this weekend. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the situation I'm in right now. So, yeah, we'll see what goes on with that. See if anyone hops into chat. I went ahead and posted on my Twitter and in some Twitter group chats that I happen to be in. Yeah, and I see the stream health is really shitty. So yeah, this whole Corona bullshit is just really getting on my nerves. Because I can't take my computer into a repair shop because they're considered non-essential. Well, my job right now really is doing me a solid by keeping me on the payroll and actually paying me my paycheck, even though I'm not able to go out and actually do it. But that's because once this thing is over, we're going to be kicking into gear, and so we're doing conference calls 2 days a week right now. I'm going to be trying to participate in creating some video content for my job's social media, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's actually one of the reasons why I shelled out for the green screen and lighting, because yeah, I'm sick and tired of not being able to make my channel look decent. So alright, yeah, it looks like everyone and their mother is already doing live streams today. I'm behind the curve. I am behind the freaking curve. Alright, yeah, stream is in the yellow. So yeah, that's not. But yeah, looking at the let me see if I can get this to move over. Okay, so I'm going to switch over real quick to my regular view. Okay, yeah, so that hasn't been affected. All right. Yeah, OBS. Well, I managed to download Streamlabs OBS, so we'll see what happens there. I'm going to try and make that work. Who knows? But yeah, so yeah, just giving you an update because like I said, my desktop is pretty much dead right now. I'm trying to get it back up and running, but even if I do, it's only a matter of time before something else happens. So right now I'm looking at an MSI Creator 17 laptop, which, looking at the specs, has got pretty much everything I need to do, basically everything. And the memory on it, it's great. The graphics card, everything. It's a gaming laptop, but this particular version of it is designed specifically for more for people who like to do live streaming on YouTube and other social media, video recording, photo editing, whatever you need to do. And like I said, it also does outstanding gaming performance. So that's what I'm going to try and get, but that's going to cost me a couple grand at least. So I am asking, for donations. The link is down in the description below. It's over at GoFundMe.com. If you want to contribute whatever you can, please do. If you want to become a patron, you can do that way and help support me on a monthly basis. But yeah, so far, we are doing some Corona shit. And, a lot of my fellow YouTubers, I've noticed they're, kind of attacking China, which to me is also kind of bullshit. Kind of blaming them for the virus. We're the ones who actually caused the swine flu, but no one's calling it the American pig virus. Even though we are the ones who actually first spread it to the rest of the planet. So, come on. Shit happens, okay? Because people are stupid, okay? And please spare me the conspiratorial bullshit, because there's no evidence that I've seen that suggests that COVID-19 was created in a Chinese laboratory and used as bioweaponry. Because first of all, if it was a bioweapon, the Chinese did a really shitty job preventing it from affecting their own citizens. And you would think that if it was a bioweapon, they would turn it on other countries and not themselves. So come on, use your common sense, people. From what I've been reading, COVID-19 has actually been theorized to have originated in the exotic animal market in China. They think right now, based on research into the genome of the virus, actually I'm not sure if it can have a genome if it's just RNA, there's no DNA, but I don't really know all the science to it. But they studied viral samples, and the running theory is that the COVID-19 virus that's running rampant right now is a combination of two different strains of the related virus, because there's something like 37 or 39 strains of coronavirus, 7 of which can infect humans. That includes SARS, MERS, and COVID-19. And what they think is that possibly the strain of coronavirus that infects bats might have infected a host animal, possibly a pangolin, and merged with a form of the virus that can lead to humans. And that's how this thing got started. And of course, because, unfortunately in Asia and other parts of the world, including Africa, including the United States, don't think for a moment that it doesn't happen here. But yeah, there is an exotic animal market. People make bat soup or whatever, or they make coats out of pangolin scales. A pangolin, I'm not exactly sure what species it's related to, but I've looked it up and saw pictures. It looks kind of like some kind of scaly armadillo or something. I could be wrong. Taxonomy is not my strong suit. But I've seen pictures of coats made from the skin of this animal, and it's like this very fancy looking scaled coat. And there was I think someone made a gift out of one of these pangolin coats to a U.S. president or something, and there's one in the Smithsonian, I think. But yeah, the running theory is that COVID-19 is probably some mutation, of two related viruses that combined in the same host animal and spread to humans. So that's as far as I know, that's the most likely source. I mean, it's not that there's no such thing as conspiracies. They happen all the time. If two people plot to rob a bank, guess what? That's a conspiracy. They happen on a daily basis. But so many people resort to this X-Files driven bullshit, just like they did with 9/11, just like they did with Pizzagate and Russiagate and all these other conspiratorial nonsense. It's all based on people leaping to sinister. They're ascribing sinister motivations to basic human stupidity. When you actually look at the evidence of things that happen in the world, whether it's 9/11 or COVID-19, when you look at the available evidence, more often than not, things are a lot more mundane than you might think. People jockeying for positions of influence within a government. I mean, to the extent that there is a deep state, and there is, but to this extent only. It's that you've got various agencies within the United States government jockeying for positions of influence and power and a bigger share of the budget pie, and very often they overlap in their interests. And so, yeah, you're going to see coordinated efforts like against the orange idiot in the White House with Russiagate and Ukrainegate, where, and also with the Emailgate, back in 2016, because, the various agencies within government, they didn't want Hillary Clinton in the White House, they didn't want Donald Trump in the White House, but they were resigned to having one of them in there. And so they decided that whichever one of them got in, they were going to continually undermine that idiot, no matter what. So if Hillary Clinton had not been so fucking stupid, if she had campaigned in all 50 states like Obama had, instead of gobbling up all the money from the DNC and left nothing for down-ticket races, and if she had gone and campaigned in places like Wisconsin and Ohio and Pennsylvania, she would be the dictator now. And we probably would have gone to war against Russia, and it would have gone nuclear, and then none of us would be here. So, but yeah, so I mean, things are what they are. So, yeah, that's my political rambling on my channel. That's not supposed to be so much about politics, but more about cinema and news related to cinema. But I can't really do that right now because my computer's dead, and I got to try and revive it and salvage what files I can off of it. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, so I'm doing this fundraiser. I also went ahead and ordered a computer desk, ergonomic one, and also a gaming chair, because the chairs I'm using right now are destroying my back, and I don't need that. I went ahead and applied for the emergency small business loan, because I actually do have an LLC for my photography and videography business, which the Wilk report is actually part of that. Because this, I was never going to limit myself to just photography, because I do want to make films. I do want to do a YouTube channel and offer my thoughts on cinema, television, the entertainment industry in general, and kind of report on some of the backstage stuff. And I will admit I was inspired by the guys over at Midnight's Edge when I first started watching them back in 2016 over the Ghostbusters reboot. That was god-awful. And now, of course, they've got Ghostbusters Afterlife coming out, directed by Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, a direct sequel to the first two Ghostbusters films. And by the way, this is sparkling lemonade in my wine glass because I didn't have any other glasses on hand. So, yeah, I just figured I would go ahead and pour it into my wine glass. So, yeah, sparkling lemonade with elderberry flavor. And no, my mother was not a hamster. She is, however, a hag, an abusive one at that. So, but yeah, so I'm really kind of stoked because the green screen that I've got here, it's actually a collapsible one. So think of a home movie projector screen that you just pull down from like a ceiling or a stand or whatever. Well, this one you pull it up, and you can use it for YouTube's. I mean, it's pretty basic, and I got to have it like practically right up against the back of my computer chair and adjust everything so that I can have it, have the actual background not appear. So, but yeah, right now I'm using OBS. Like I said, I may download Streamlabs OBS for my desktop if I can get it back up and running. But yeah, this crisis has affected a lot of us, and I got back into town from house sitting out of town. Technically it's within Cuyahoga County, but it was still out of Cleveland proper. And so, when I got back, my computer decided to install updates for AVG, forced a restart, and the win.exe got corrupted, and because my ex-roommate, who's now in prison, so far as I know he's still there, stole half my belongings when I had to leave my last place of residence. And among them was my original Windows 7 Ultimate boot disk, the installation disk, actually. So I was fortunate that I was able to go ahead and use my stimulus to get a legal copy. But there are still some things that I do need to get. Because I've managed to get the lighting, had to order it on Amazon. I'm trying to avoid ordering stuff on Amazon if I can help it, and go directly to websites, because Amazon doesn't need the money. All right, small businesses do. Smaller businesses. I think if anything, this crisis has shown that when shit hits the fan, the rich are always going to look out for themselves and leave the rest of us to fend for ourselves. And so if you can actually support some of the smaller companies, because I actually went ahead and just decided, look, because the green screen that I got, it's like some kind of like Corsair collapsible one. There was like Vivo and other items, and every time I went to Amazon, I thought I found one and saved it to my wish list, and then it would disappear completely. And of course, because COVID's got everyone in quarantine to their houses, so a lot of people who my aunt, for example, she's upstairs, she's working from home and doing a lot of her work online and doing conference calls like I am. And, so a lot of companies that, where we're still employed, and, we have to communicate somehow. So, conference calls, and, what helped to have a nice background here. So, but hopefully we'll get some better lighting, because right now I'm coming in clear, and then the background is all grainy because of the fluorescent lighting in the basement here. So, that's a situation I've got, is that I'm still trying to raise the money for getting a new computer and hopefully a updated DSLR camera body, because the one I've got, it still works, but it's getting outdated. I bought it in January of 2016, and when you're a photographer, you got to keep up on the latest technology. I've got a couple of 35 millimeter cameras for instances where I have a project that requires the use of film, like, for example, black and white photography. My go-to medium is still black and white film, because film, like the particles of silver that are used to create film, because celluloid is really kind of this gelatinous material, and so the grains fall into this irregular pattern where it results in resolution that is much higher than anything you can get on digital. Because digital, you get all these straight lines like stacked one on top of the other, and so black and white film, if you want to get true blacks and true whites and all those subtle shades of gray in between, you still want to use film. You still want to use celluloid. So, yeah, I keep the cameras specifically for projects when I'm doing that. You know, if I'm doing weddings and someone says, oh, hey, I really want it on film instead of on digital, okay, fine. And, of course, I've got a scanner so I can digitize any film photos that I've got. I just take the developed negatives and just run it through the scanner. Boom. You know, I can convert it to digital and upload it to my online portfolio. So, yeah. And, you know, it's interesting because there's a film called Nebraska that came out years ago. Was it 2013, I think, 2014 maybe? Or maybe it was 2012. I forget which. But, yeah, it starred Bruce Stern and, you know, and to me, that is an excellent film. It's to me, it's like Death of a Salesman for the 21st century. And this film visually would have looked fantastic because it was shot in black and white, but it was shot on digital. Top of the line digital, Arri Alexa, I think. And if you're going to shoot on digital, Arri Alexa is the camera to go. I mean, Red Epic is shit. I mean, seriously. Peter Jackson, I don't know why the fuck you directed the Hobbit trilogy on the Red Epic. It looked awful. Especially since you're going ahead and using 48 frames per second when 24 would have sufficed. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, what's done is done. But, you know, I think visually speaking, Nebraska would have looked 100% perfect if it had been shot on black and white film. And shooting it on digital, it just gave it this artificial looking quality that I just couldn't get into. It almost took me out of the story. So to me, you know, that's the reason that I would still shoot on film, is because if I'm going for those true blacks. Because another thing, and my film instructors, you know, really kind of hammered home into me and tried to hammer home into the rest of the students in the class, you know, don't assume that, you know, if you're shooting on digital and you screw up on your lighting that you could go and fix in post, because, you know, digital does not give you true blacks. It just doesn't. It's not there yet. You know, it's going to be a long time before that happens, if ever. And so when you go to edit your footage in post, you can end up tinting your shadows, and that's going to come across on screen. You're going to look like a rank amateur. You might lose your job and not work again in the industry if you make a boneheaded decision like that. So if you're going to go ahead and shoot something where, you know, there's a lot of darkness and you need true blacks, shoot on film. You can always do a conversion to digital for distribution. In fact, that's what's happening now. Because a lot of stuff is going to streaming services. The theaters are all closed for God knows how long. AMC is in the news. It might close because the head of the company make a lot of boneheaded decisions that some are trying to blame on China. Again, it's not China's fault AMC is going down the tubes. It is strictly the fault of the AMC CEO, who decided to make a bunch of bad investments and bad decisions and mismanage the company. You know, I mean, it's like there's no conspiracy for China to take over American cinema or disseminate Chinese propaganda. It's just simple business and people getting greedy and stupid and mismanaging money. That's it. So, and unfortunately, it's AMC Theaters, once one of the largest theater chains in the nation. But, yeah. But, you know, there's Regal Cinemas. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I am, still getting a lot of reds and oranges on my bandwidth here. Yeah. Eventually I'm going to have to try and see if I can get my own internet, something decent, because, maybe Spectrum. I've been looking at that and wanting to, but, my aunt doesn't want to have another set of holes or anything drilled into the house, so I can't really say I blame her. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I can convince her, but and also just because the laptop I'm on right now is just old and doesn't really allow for a stable connection. And plus it's also low on memory. So an acquaintance of mine whom I interned for a few years ago got me a new laptop that I'm still trying to figure out some of the compatibility issues because it runs on Windows 8.1. And I'm getting it to where I want it. I download Windows Open Shell, gave it the Windows 7 user interface, which makes it a lot easier to use. And right now just trying to resolve some issues with that. Otherwise I would be on that now instead of this one. But yeah, right now just kind of seeing what I can do with the live stream here. Just kind of give you an update on my situation. It's been over a month since my desktop died. With any luck, I'll have it up and running again this weekend. Try and recover all my files. But yeah, at some point I'm going to have to replace the desktop with a system that will actually be a lot better. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, I went ahead and applied for emergency $10,000 advance through the Small Business Administration for my business. Because as a photographer and videographer, my business, in order for me to make money and get paid for my work, I have to be able to work. And if I'm trapped in my house, or my aunt's house, as it were, I can't meet clients. I can't really do anything while the lockdown is in order. And right now they're talking about reopening the state of Ohio on May 1st. We are not fucking ready. Half the people in this state are fucking morons. They're not obeying the quarantine. We've got a church just north of Cincinnati, 500 seat capacity, still holding services and spreading the infection in southern Ohio. And those people are going to spread it to their friends and their relatives, who will spread it to their friends and relatives. I'm surprised we don't have a higher death toll than we already do. I'm surprised we don't have a higher infection rate than is being reported. But of course we can't really get an accurate infection rate because that orange idiot is shorting us on accurate tests. Yeah. So, yeah. So, like I said, link to my GoFundMe is in the description. Trying to raise money to get this new laptop. I can try and save up for it, but it might be a while, and I'm trying to get it sooner rather than later. Because right now, there's so much I've been meaning to get done. I wanted to review Doctor Who, the series finale for series 12, and that got cut short by my computer dying. And it's, I'll tell you, once I get that thing done, I'm going to be going on an epic fucking rant. I know it's going to be a month and a half late, but better late than never, because our shows really have been degraded to the point where they're unwatchable. And Viacom CBS is actually suffering a shit ton of financial difficulties, partly because it's plunged so much money into STD and Star Black Pickard, and also the Twilight Zone reboot, just to prop up CBS All Access, which no one's really using. Seriously, I mean, if they had the numbers that they claim, they would have shown them by now. And they haven't. And they're not going to, because, if they showed the numbers, nobody would be watching it. Netflix, they were roped into paying for STD, but they decided, nope, we're taking a pass on Pickard, so they went to Amazon. The idiots at CBS. Pickard pretty much destroyed the next generation for pretty much anyone who's a fan. I don't even consider it canon. I gave up on the show like 3 episodes in, and honestly, I've been trying to get through other episodes, but it's rough. I can't even bring myself to watch it any further because, and from what I understand, because I did catch the second half of the last episode, and it just, oh my god, dude, why the fuck did you go through all that? Oh, and if you head over to Major Grin, his YouTube channel, he does a very good job of showing you all the things that Alex Klutzman has stolen or just paid for the royalty-free license. I mean, $250 million just for season 1 of Pickard. $200 million per season. And you can't even be bothered to come up with original special effects. You have to take stuff from music videos and steal that. You have to take elements from... they're literally taking royalty-free videos and tweaking them a little bit and inserting that into special effects shots and CGI shots. It's like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? It doesn't cost all that much to do this stuff. I mean, oh my god. I mean, Star Trek The Next Generation, at its most expensive, never got much higher than $1 million per episode. So you're spending maybe $24 million per season. Now, of course, this was 1980s, 1990s money, and inflation has pretty much driven that up. But at the time, $1 million an episode, was pretty high, but not so high that you're just basically breaking your own bank. And, that's a problem, is that there's this thinking among no-talent hacks like Alex Klutzman and Ruin Johnson and Jar Jar Abrams and, Paul Fatigue and Michael Bay and stuff. There's this warped thinking that says, oh, a show can't be good unless, you're spending $500 million and overdoing it on the special effects and the visual elements and all this crappy CGI and explosions and all stuff. It's like, no. Because look at Joker. That movie did over $1 billion in revenue at the end of its run in the theaters on a budget of $60 million. And you factor in probably another 40, 50 million, talking about maybe a total budget of maybe about $110 million, maybe 120. But it pulled in over $1 billion. At the end of the day, that's a huge profit margin for such a mid-level film. And it succeeded because it told a great story with a sympathetic protagonist. And even the villains, because Thomas Wayne was reimagined as a Mike Bloomberg type. So, I mean, and of course, and again, for people who don't like Joker, and I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it until it settles in, you don't have to accept Joaquin Phoenix's Joker as the Joker, okay? Because what do we know about the Joker from The Killing Joke? He is an unreliable narrator of his own history. For The Killing Joke, he remembered his past the way Alan Moore wrote it, and in this movie, he remembers it a completely different way. He likes his past to be multiple choice. Even the setting in 1981, is not reliable, because these are the delusions of a psychotic. So even if Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is the Joker, guess what? He's full of shit. He's a liar. So you can't really trust what he says as far as his own origins. And so, free from that limitation of having an origin story that can be set as canon, okay, because you're just, pulling something out of your ass, knowing that, you don't necessarily have to believe this is the real origin of the Joker, because whatever origin story he gives you, you can't believe it. So that's not actually the point of the movie. The point of the movie was to tell about how people with mental illnesses are ignored and mistreated by society to the point that they snap and get violent. Now, of course, not every mentally ill person does this. Most don't. But the ones who do, how many warning signs were missed when the Columbine shooters decided, they're going to take out the school and then go out in a blaze of glory? Or any school shooter over the 20 years or so since that horrible event. I mean, until Corona hit, we had mass shootings almost daily in this country, especially on school shootings. And yes, the society does ignore the mentally ill, treats them like garbage. So, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. You don't have to accept it as Joker if you don't want to, but that's not the point of the movie. And of course, DC, earlier last year, scored one. They actually got two really good films last year. One was Joker, of course, did $1 billion at the box office on a mid-level budget. And then there was Shazam, which, as you know from my previous videos on this, Shazam was awesome. You had a sympathetic protagonist. Somebody must have read Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, may he rest in peace, because, everything that should work about a movie like that actually worked, because the screenwriter knew what the hell he or she was doing. You've got a sympathetic character in the form of Billy Batson. He's been abandoned by his mother. He can't accept that he's been abandoned. He's spent pretty much most of his life trying to find her, to find his family, and ends up finding a family that he at first doesn't appreciate, but by the end of the film, he realizes, this is a family who actually wants him. So I mean, it's a great story. I mean, if you haven't seen that yet, go see it on Netflix or find it on DVD and see if you can order a copy. Or if you already have the DVD, bring it back out and watch it. I mean, it's a great little film. I mean, well, not little, because it's a superhero movie and it does have a pretty decent budget, but even that, they didn't spend so much of it on the special effects, because that movie, I think the budget was something like $98 million. Sorry. I've had a lingering cough since January. Thankfully, I've not gotten COVID, as far as I know. I went to the ER last month to get tested, and I wasn't presenting any symptoms. I had upper respiratory symptoms, and COVID is lower respiratory, so they didn't test me. But yeah, I get respiratory infections more frequently than I care to, just because I've had sinus infections, bronchitis, ear infections, and that just leaves you all scarred up and vulnerable to getting more sinus infections. So yeah, I usually get at least one every year. So, and usually right about spring, late winter, early spring. And the cough just lingers forever. So, But yeah, like I said, I mean, Shazam, had a pretty modest budget for a superhero movie. Usually they go like 150, $200 million, and then on top of that, you get the marketing and distribution. So by the time all is said and done, you've spent pretty much close to $500 million, or sometimes even more than $500 million, just to make and market the film and get it distributed. So Shazam, relative to other superhero movies, had a lower budget and focused on telling the story with compelling characters, sympathetic characters. And I think if it had not been sandwiched between Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame, I think it would have done a lot better. I think if they'd released it after Spider-Man Far From Home, that movie would have cleaned up, so you'd have had 2 hit DC movies in a row within a couple of months of each other. And DC would be in a much stronger position competing against Marvel. And unfortunately, Jar Jar Abrams is in talks with Warner Brothers to take over the DC Extended Universe. If he does, that's pretty much it. Forget about getting a Shazam sequel or a Joker sequel, because Abrams will want to destroy it all and replace it with his shallow, hollowed-out, one-dimensional version. Everything Jar Jar Abrams and Ruin Johnson and Alex Kurtzman touch turns to shit. And for all people praise Knives Out, it's shit. The guy murders himself, and then, the whole movie is basically trying to figure out how he did it, or who actually helped him. It's like, no, dude, come on, what the fuck? You think these ass clowns know how to write? They don't. They don't. The only thing they're proficient at is the technical aspect of filmmaking. They suck at storytelling. No one actually taught them how to tell a story. And that's a problem. Because if you don't have a story, especially one that's semi-original at least, because, one could say there's not much that's original. There's something like, a certain number of basic stories that, everything is just a variation on one of them. And of course, people are constantly ripping stuff off, to one degree or another. We call it doing homage. But of course, Alex Kurtzman just steals. He's never had an original bone in his body. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, no one's in the chat. So, but yeah, feel free to hit the link below, the GoFundMe link. Help me out here. Would really appreciate it. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. God willing, I'll be doing that in another week or two. So yeah, until next time, this is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report saying take care, good night, and I am out of here.